Station, we've got the finance minister with us. Let's just listen in.
In the later meetings, let's start off with him. First question, sir. Thank you so much for giving time to CNBC TV 18. As always, what a pleasure. What has been the overall strategy in terms of the rate fitment? The major headline, or rather major takeaway that we understand, is that you're trying to keep inflationary pressures as low as possible, at possibly at the cost of some revenue implications or down the line?
You see, there's a twin object. And the twin object is that revenue neutrality should be maintained without it being inflationary in character. Now, when one attempts to bring a reconciliation between these two objectives, obviously we have reduced the level of rates that we are bringing in many of the goods. And even in services, we've had a graded system. And now the benefit of the input credits which services will get, so the rates will be kept in check. If you take the weighted average of goods and services, I'm quite certain it will be lower than what it is at present. But then the object of GST was, it's a more efficient system. It's a system which checks in evasion. It's a system which will boost tax collection. So a more efficient system boosting tax collection will cover up for all the reductions which have been made. And I'm quite sure that we'll be able to achieve the twin object of checking inflation and also maintaining revenue neutrality.
So broadly speaking, a smaller question here, if you may allow me. The decision to levy a cess on small cars and mid-segment cars was not on the anvil earlier. What happened yesterday, or probably...
You see, first of all, there is an erroneous media report that small cars will cost more. They won't. The existing rate, with all the cascading effects, is 31% and 29%. And therefore, the existing rate is being maintained to the dot. And therefore, the existing rate continues as far as the small and the mid-segment cars are concerned. This was a conscious decision which was taken by the council.
So going forward, of course, you've kept a small window open that if need be, we may look at other things. That's more of an enabling provision, sir?
Obviously, the council is a permanent body, and therefore we'll keep reviewing our experiences.
Sir, the rates for bullion have yet to be decided. Possibly they may be taken up in the next meeting. What is so far the thinking broadly, if you may like to...
I won't. There are two views. There are two views. And there is one view that it's a luxury item. You should have some reasonable tax. The other wanted to be taxed a little less, because if you tax gold, then it leads to smuggling. These are the various arguments which are going on. And I'm sure as we've taken other decisions in the council by unanimity and consensus, we'll be able to reach an opinion.
So moving on to services, here again, a big step taken in terms of grandfathering the important exemptions, especially healthcare, education. A lot of other sectors you have put in the 5% bracket, like, railway travel, even economy class travel by planes. Again, the broad thinking here is to protect the consumer.
The idea is to protect the consumer.
Yeah.
If we had increased the service tax on transportation, you see, low-cost transportation for common man in the average cheaper classes in the railways is exempted. The other categories, we've kept it at 5% because petroleum is a major input. And petroleum not being a part of the GST, they are not getting the input credit. And therefore, whatever you pay will be an absolute payment. And therefore, it was obvious that it had to be kept at the lowest bracket, which is 5%.
Right, sir. So, very quickly, also in terms of financial services like banking, insurance, also telecom, 18% is the standard rate. Here again, you have made it very clear the ITC available should actually probably bring down the effective rate slightly lower.
In all cases, whatever are the inputs which go in, the input costs will be available. If a hotel is paying is taxed at a particular level, then the machinery, the air conditioning, various other input costs that go in will certainly bring down the taxation level. Works contract, 12%, but then cement and steel go into the works, and they are taxed at 28%. Therefore, you will get the benefit of those input credits. So what is optically appears to be a particular rate of services will actually, the effective incidence will be much less.
So also very broadly, again, the earlier understanding was that, and possibly erroneous understanding, that most of the services will go in the 12 and the 18% bracket. Here again, the council has taken the decision to broaden the slabs.
If you look at, if we've got certain services like five-star hotels, which if you take the luxury taxes and the service taxes, goes up to 30-35% at the moment. Now, there was no reason why they should be given a discount at 18%. Similarly, betting and gambling at racecourses has to be maintained at a higher level. So obviously, you've kept those equity considerations in mind.
So going forward, how confident are we of July 1 as of now? Because, various industry quarters are, they were so far worried on the rates.
I don't think there is any scope for rethinking.
There's no scope of rethinking on July 1, sir.
Yeah, I think we are in a state of readiness. Minister after minister have met me from the states and said, don't blink, stick to 1st July.
Fantastic, sir. Also, in terms of IT preparedness, are we more or less on track? Because GST will be a very...
The ministers will be taking a presentation on the 3rd of June with regard to the IT preparedness.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for speaking to me, Steve.